Super excited to talk about this. Hello and welcome everybody. So these are my 3 tips to upgrade your money mindset. And also, yes, I can see people are popping on. Thank you so much for being here. You know, this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart as a light worker and a healer, a recovering yoga instructor and Pilates instructor. Who, like I just had a lot of conflicts around money, just a lot of inner conflicts around money. Even as a small business owner, when I opened my first business as a Pilates and yoga studio owner, I was so conflicted about being successful. And I truly feel like besides all the millions of other things that I had to learn in order to create a successful small business, I really did have to learn a lot about how to ally with money and how to ally with wealth creation and income creation and revenue creation, and not make myself wrong or bad for wanting more of it, not only for myself, but also for my team. So I'm going to share with you my 3 tips. Let me get out my notes so I don't miss anything at all. And before, we even get into this, I just want to talk about money mindset. If you want to call in more money into your business and your bank account, your beliefs about money and wealth and success are really the first thing that's actually in your control that you're going to want to address and sparkle up. And once you do this and remove any energetic blockages to your ascending income, which is one of the things I do with my 100K plus spiritual business owners that I work with in my coaching programs, it will be so much easier for you to visualize and create whatever the new client attraction strategy is, or the new offering that will catalyze this financial growth. So the thing is, you got to start from your belief systems, your thoughts, even like your body contractions around money and wealth. And then everything else becomes easier once you've worked on that more inside level. So before I go forward, I really need to name this, because whenever we're talking about money or power, we really need to acknowledge that obviously there are social structures and systems of oppression that make it more difficult for marginalized groups to ally with money to create wealth. And that fact, I can't even emphasize that more. That's so very important that we acknowledge that, especially for me as a white person. Those outside forces are very real and very oppressive and unjust, and obviously very problematic for all of us. So I want to make a little side note to my white audience. I feel it is especially important for those of us who can see and grasp the economic injustices that are just woven into our society, that we use our wealth and our other privileges to help dismantle those systems. That's so very important to me in my work as a business owner for both my brands, and just in myself, in my family, in my relationship to my daughters, and in my relationship to myself. So I want to invite you, my white people, to pay attention to your Black and Brown and Indigenous colleagues, friends, and mentors. And if you don't have Black, Brown, and Indigenous colleagues, friends, mentors, get some. Your life will be better from having some different perspectives, but they will cue you how to do this better than I could. So I just really want to emphasize this before we get into these mindset and energy pieces. And I also want to acknowledge that, as a yogini and as a small business owner, I also know and have experienced firsthand how much our thoughts and our energy can affect our reality. And tell me in the comments below, if you've noticed this around your relationship with money, how your thoughts around it start to create all kinds of action or inaction that then produces a certain kind of result. That's my experience. So here are my top 3 tips. I can't wait to hear what you think about these. So the first thing is to become aware of the thing that you're thinking about money. Or for some of us who are more kinesthetic like me, it might be a bodily feeling that you're feeling around money. So I want to give you an example. In the early days of running my studio business, I used to do all my own books. So I would do my book. I was not a very good bookkeeper, but I just was too cheap to hire a bookkeeper at that time in my life. I thought I couldn't afford it, which was actually not true. But that was the story I was telling myself. And so I would do my books, or more likely I would not do my books and then be really stressed about the fact that I had not done my books. And so I noticed this more using my yogini brain, that when I would actually sit down and reconcile my books, I would feel like more grounded. I would just feel more grounded in my energy. And so I started getting really curious about that. Is like, oh, when I don't know what's going on with my money, I feel like just more flighty and airy and a little bit anxious. But when I know what's going on in my business, even if the reality is I'm in the red, because I spent many years when I was growing my studio business with multiple months a year where I was like completely in the red. And so therefore going into more and more debt. But I noticed that even just knowing where I was truly in my business made me feel more grounded, even if the reality wasn't like what I wanted it to be. So that's an example of just using your curiosity, using your awareness to start to upgrade your money mindset and your relationship with having your hands on your money, being in a relationship that's pleasurable with money rather than a relationship that's shameful or that feels sort of like avoidant, which many of us have all kinds of patterns around that, around money. So that's my first one for you. The second thing I want to invite you to do is to reframe your poverty or scarcity or frustration thoughts around money when they come up, and they will come up, and create a new story. So, and you can like consciously choose as you're hearing yourself speak the frustration or lack, you can like change the next sentence and like reframe it even in the moment. And I'll give you an example of this. So many people in COVID times are asking me when they see me, how is it going? How is the studio business going? A lot of them don't even know that I also have a coaching business, which is going amazingly well, but they're very fascinated by like, what is going on in the life of a brick and mortar small business owner, right? Right. So I always tell them, well, our revenues are down, and I hear myself going there because that is true. Our revenues are down from where they used to be a year ago. We've been dark here in Northern California for an entire year. And then this is what I've been doing consciously. I immediately flip the script when I'm talking to these people, and I go, and it's so amazing that we are still bringing in X amount of revenue in spite of the fact that we've been dark. Like, I can't believe that I haven't gone into any debt whatsoever. I've been able to give myself a really healthy salary. I'm just amazed by how well my studio is holding up. Isn't that an awesome reframe? It's like, sure, I could focus on that. You know, we lost our Pilates equipment revenue stream, and our privates are a bit down right now, and all the other things that are challenging about being a brick and mortar small business owner right now. But I'm reframing the story to be in awe, in gratitude, in wonder, and reframe your poverty, scarcity, frustration mindsets. Like, I'll give you another example. So one of my personal goals for this year for both of my businesses is to ascend into 100K months. And I've actually gotten really close there in both my businesses in 2020, believe it or not, in several different months. And so I'm like, I've got this new goal. It's a big, juicy goal, going for $1 million business, right? And so some of the sort of lack or frustration that comes up for me is like, why haven't I made it there yet? And I get impatient with it. And so when I hear myself speaking those thoughts, I just reframe it as like, oh my God, it's so amazing that I am in the process of becoming 100K small business owner. You got to be freaking kidding me. This never would have even occurred to me 3 years ago or 5 years ago, much less 10 years ago before I had my studio. So I'm just reframing when I catch myself in frustration or lack. And that is a very powerful practice, my friends. Okay, the third thing I want to talk about is so important. So when you want to upgrade your money mindset, you need to get a new crew. You need to get a new crew. You need to hang out with different kinds of people. You need to listen to different kinds of podcasts, different kinds of you need to read different kinds of books. Like, you need to start to infiltrate those like hardwire things around success, around money, around scarcity, around poverty that you inherited from your parents, or even maybe from past life stuff. Like that stuff, and from our society, that stuff is very deeply woven in there. So part of what you need to do to rewire and reweave is to get a new crew. So who's your crew? I mean, yes, find the podcasts that are all about money mindset and wealth creation, where it's like normalizing having high income months or high revenue months. It's just like a normal thing, because we want this to feel normal for you. This is like the new normal. It's not a big deal. It's just what you do. And it's so interesting that, like, I remember when I first started my coaching business and I was in a mastermind, I was in a group, I got a new crew. I invested in a mastermind with a bunch of other people who were also starting their coaching businesses. And one of the women who was in there was like a super woo-woo, like manifestation coach. She's so cool. And I remember her saying at like the end in a January call, like, oh my God, I made, 200K last year, 230K last year in my coaching business. And I just remember at the time, I was like, wow, that's crazy. And now like I've made more than twice of that, and like, that's my new normal, And so it's so interesting when you start hanging out with people who are doing the thing that you want to do, and it just becomes a normal thing, how it's your new normal starts to calibrate to theirs. Very, very powerful. So I did promise in the title today that I'd give you a sacred assignment. So if you're down for it, I want you to do this. You can write this down on a piece of paper, or you can just write it in the comments below, because why not? It's like right there. So on a piece of paper or in the comments below, write the actual big, bold, audacious amount of money that you would most love to come to you each month. And I'm not going to say anything else about that. I'm just going to say that. So that's the first part, is just write the actual amount of big, bold, audacious money that you would want to come to your account. It's usually much higher than you would like to admit. And I will ask you, like, track if it's even hard for you to write this right now. It might be hard for you to write on a paper. It's probably extra hard for you to write, on Instagram or on Facebook in public. But track if it's hard for you to do that, because that's actually good information for you, that it's already pulling up some of the shame or some of the like, well, I can't have that, or that's too much, or like whatever your stuff is, because this is the whole thing with the sacred assignment. It's designed to bring up your stuff. So the minute you start to, and I learned this from one of my mentors, Jessica Riverson, is like the minute you start to touch into one of your big, bold, juicy desires, it's one of the points of like even touching into it is to pull up the stuff to heal and to clear. And the stuff that's like really ready for you to clear and heal. So that's the assignment, to write that down. And then to feel for what thoughts does it bring up for you. I can't have that because, well, if I want that, I'm going to have to really buckle down and work harder. I'm going to have to hustle more, grind more. I'm going to have to spend all these hours away from my family. I have to work weekends. Like, just listen to all the reasons your brain creates that you can't have what you want. That is how you start this sacred work of calling in more of what you want for your life in terms of your finances. And it really, that's related to all kinds of other wealth creation, spiritual wealth, financial wealth, wealth of time, wealth of spaciousness, wealth of health. So feel what you want, and then see what surfaces for you. You can write them in the comments below, because I'd love to talk to you about this. I hope this is helpful for some of you. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. Have an awesome day, everybody.